So now that, like me, we've done the hypnosis practitioner course. How are you finding? Are you able to utilize that with anybody?
I have, yeah. Took on some clients recently. I think done about 6 or 7, and I did a little seminar as well in a local
Nice.
gym as well. So they asked me to do just a small little workshop. We did we did the Hackle tech. So it was in preparation for competing. So I think there's about 20 of them in the room. I was like, right, before you maybe step onto the mat, do the Hackle technique. We did some anchoring as well to get them into that like good positive state where they were like maybe where they were thinking they were fit, they were strong, they were confident, they were powerful. And I just did 2 or 3 really simple ones like that with them. But since the course, like that course in particular, was one that I wanted to really do sort of again, because I've done like a man coaching course before, but there was a little bit that I thought that I was missing, my hypnosis bit, because I did one online and it was good. It was very good, but the learning's different. I prefer to be in the classroom because you can pick up on, you can ask the tutor things, you can ask people around you other things, you can get their feedback, and actually then just people's like voice tone and like the way their eyes move and just checking their facial cues, just to check understanding. But overall, I've loved it ever since, and it was that piece of the puzzle that I was missing to go forward and actively pursue it a bit more, trying to help people at that a little bit more now because I've got that more confidence and that new skill set under my belt now.
One of the things that I noticed, there was 2 things that I noticed I was missing, apart from actually knowing how to hypnotize somebody, is because I do a lot of my coaching like this, I don't really pay attention to rapport. And because I put a lot of my content on social media, people contact me, and like with your Instagram, people will see that and then come down, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not selling them anything because they're already curious enough that they've made the introduction. So that I found for me that worked because it broke down lots of barriers immediately because people knew what I looked like, they knew the sound of my voice,
Mm-hmm.
and they almost knew exactly what I would say. So they're almost, to kind of term the phrase, they're all already in that trance state.
Like you feel like they know you a little bit already.
Exactly. So I was never, and I noticed this on the course, I was never paying any attention to building rapport because you've already reached out to me. So I wasn't paying attention to body language. I wasn't paying attention to visual cues because I just didn't need to. And then when we started learning about the NLP side of it and the way that we can use language, I was just like, I'd missed all of that because it just, no, there wasn't even a reason. I just wasn't aware of it. And actually, originally, my interest in coaching came from NLP. But somehow, again, through that online stuff, social media things, I'd forgotten about the importance and benefits of why we should and shouldn't use NLP and how you should use it and how you shouldn't use it, And it was it was just crazy that happened. And so that for me was a big thing about that weekend, on top of the, just Kevin and I were talking about this before we started recording. The first time you see Vinnie Shawman put somebody under, just like literally within seconds, and you don't see him how he's done it, and it's just like, oh shit.
I've got lots to learn. There's a lot to learn.
So just give everybody a breakdown of the Hackle technique.
It's one of my favorite ones, actually, and it's something that when I first met Vinny 8 years ago, and I did Vinny's 4 weeks to freedom course, I think that was the very first technique that we did. I think it's especially good for combat sports athletes. I do it all the time always before I step on the competition mat, even while I'm warming up, and then literally as I'm on the mat about to go on before the referee calls me on. So it's a very basic technique. You can pick any spot above you, so above your eye line, and just focus on that one spot. I use it to calm my mind, calm the nervous system down. And sort of the cues, like when I'm teaching it to people, is imagine you can look all the way to the right, all the way to the left, all the way above you, and all the way below. And again, you literally feel, like I do, my eye opens up so much. I can see like the whole room. It's weird. I think it's brilliant for combat sports athletes because the subconscious then can see what your opponent's doing. Whereas like if you just got maybe that tunnel vision and that's it, you just focus on just directly in front. Especially with combat sports, there's lots of little micro movements that like it's either a feint or the way they move their foot, the way they move their head before they do something. And if your subconscious picks up on that, you then react a lot faster compared to, let's say, if you're just in tunnel vision and your opponent moves and then you've got to then react to them. If you can sort of react that little half millisecond before them, I find it's brilliant. That's one of the best techniques that I've ever been taught. And I've also used it before exams as well, just to calm down, just to really calm down. Like when I was doing my PGCE, you had to take a skills maths test and you only got 3 goes at it and then you were time barred then for 2 years. I'd failed it twice. So I was like, shit, I'm in the shit here. If I fail this, I've got to wait 2 years before I can qualify. And I'm there. I think I was in the toilet just before the exam doing it. Like folks are looking up in this cubicle doing it. And again, but I walked in just nice and steady because I think I'd seen Vinny. I think I had my last session with Vinny or my first session with Vinny before that last test. And then obviously passed it with flying colours, which was good.
It is because people, one of the things that I find, like when we did that weekend together, everybody in that room is obsessed with mindset. And we are so obsessed with eradicating limiting beliefs. It's crazy because you actually, I joke with my friends that when I go to these courses, because like this is the second time I've been to go with Vinny Shawman, and like about a third of that room were ex-fighters, ex-world champions, or train fighters and champions, and it's quite. I've forgotten the chap's correct name, so I do apologise in advance. The chap that Vinny kept referring to as Otto from The Simpsons. I can't remember his name. You know who I mean, don't you?
Was he on the course?
Yeah. He was
which one's Otto?
He was sat in the top right-hand corner as you walk through the door, and he always had a
big
cap
curly
on.
Hair and a beard.
Yeah.
Rick. Yeah,
Rick. That's it. Rick
Barnell.
Yeah.
Rick Barnell. Yeah.
The nicest, most pleasant guy you go. But I looked him up afterwards.
Absolute killer.
Yeah. I was showing friends pictures of it. I was like, I've just been on this course with him. Nicest guy going. This is him, like 10 years ago when he was this 2-time world Muay Thai champion, and he's just like, you just couldn't believe, like you say, he's just a killer. But again, another guy who's obsessed with mindset, eradicating negative thinking, eradicating and anything that will any self-doubt, anything that undermine getting the most effective ways of moving forward.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I find really interesting about those courses is it's funny how many of us, if you put all of us together, we are incredibly confident, but we doubt ourselves.
Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah, and that's
if you say you don't.
But that's the thing you kind of learn. I'm in this room full of people like yourself thinking, fucking hell. But you've got the same self-doubts as I've got.
Yeah. But even that room, I thought that room was full of, I don't think the word, like high achievers and very competent people in their field. I thought everyone in there was like very meta-human, I thought.
Yeah.
And they all deal with people, like you said, who, like, a lot of them were PTs or they were fighters or they deal with people who come to them. Like, they probably see so much potential in, like, maybe their clients or their fighters, but their clients and their fighters are self-sabotaging themselves because they just don't believe in themselves. And again, it all comes back to that limiting belief. The amount of people that I've seen who shoulda, woulda, like I was the shoulda, woulda, coulda guy because I didn't believe, I didn't have the mental tools to be a decent fighter. But then after getting it fixed by Vinny, I've then gone on, I've took that forward into grappling. So imagine, I was like, look back, I imagine if I found Vinny maybe 9 years before I did. Like, who knows?